traditional territory of the Comox First Nation. Short agenda today, nonetheless, very important one. We will have a delegation followed by an item on grants. And I don't see the management report will come after the delegation. So if I can have a mover to receive the delegation.
So moved.
Thank you very much. And it's my pleasure to introduce Eleanor and Seamus Nestling to present information regarding access to the swimming pools. So I'm hopeful that you can hear us well and that we'll be able to hear you. Seamus, we can't hear you right now. We'll just give it a second.
Can you hear us?
Yes, now well, not only we can hear you, but we can see you as well. So welcome, and you have 10 minutes for your presentation, and afterwards the directors may have some questions or comments based on your input. So go ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll be shorter than 10 minutes. We're here today to strongly urge the Commission to reopen the Aquatic Center pool for the purpose of lap swimming and rehab. The pool at the Sports Center is insufficient to meet the needs of swimmers in this community. You are to be commended for keeping the Sports Center pool in operation. Staff and patrons are working together to ensure adherence to COVID protocols. We, along with many others, feel that it is a very safe place to visit. However, so many people are trying to swim laps or go to rehab swim that the time slots are filled within seconds of becoming available. This is extremely frustrating to those of us who are swimming to maintain our physical, mental, and emotional health in these difficult times. Many of us who swim are seniors who cannot enjoy other forms of exercise such as running or tennis. Swimming puts minimal stress on joints, making it the only suitable form of exercise for people with physical infirmities, those recovering from surgery or injuries, or those with physical disabilities. When we don't swim, our fitness levels deteriorate rapidly. This year, there are many more of us swimming as snowbirds have stayed home. According to the WHO guidelines, we should be exercising as much as possible during the pandemic. To do this in the better ventilated aquatic center and larger aquatic center would be beneficial. This now becomes even more relevant with the slow rollout of vaccines that seems to be happening now. The situation at the pool was worsened drastically when lap swimming slots were removed in the new year to make way for other programs. Now, swimmers must hover over the computers throughout the day in a demeaning contest to see who can grab the few available slots in the pool. Let me take a moment to walk you through a typical session with the online booking system. First, you must be logged into the system 10 days ahead of the day on which you want to swim at the exact time you wish to swim. So if it's 12 o'clock, 10 days ahead. Now you sit staring at this computer screen with your mouse or your finger hovering over the register button until your computer clock tells you it's time to pounce. The system doesn't tell you when that moment is. You must hope that your computer clock matches the booking clock system. Click and hope that you're a few milliseconds faster than anyone else. If you click too soon, your attempt will be rejected. And by the time you make a second attempt, it will be too late. Generally, all slots are filled within 30 seconds. Sometimes you do everything right, only to have the system freeze partway through the process, especially if trying to book a second person. And this has happened to us several times. Being put on a wait list is not much help. Openings rarely come up, or if they do, not at a useful time, and never for 2 people. One day last week, I tried registering in 4 different time slots on one day before I was successful. The spaces, again, had filled up in seconds. And before you ask, there's nothing wrong with my computer skills. Our household includes 2 iPads, a laptop, and a very recent iPhone. I've tried them all with the same result. Many people complain about the booking system, but we are here to emphasize that it's not the real issue. The booking system is clunky but workable when demand matches availability. At this time, demand far exceeds availability. I have requested through Freedom of Information for a 1-week period the number of people who try to register, the number who end up on wait lists, and how many of those on wait lists are eventually successful. I had hoped to have this today, but I haven't yet received it. My husband and I and other swimmers we have spoken to have grown increasingly frustrated with this state of affairs. I spent part of my husband's birthday lunch watching the clock and hovering over my iPad so I could book swimming times 10 days away. This is in a restaurant, so it's a little bit embarrassing. We know a lady from Hornby Island who had to stay overnight in a hotel because the only time she could get to swim was 8:20 at night because of the booking. She tries to come twice a week, and I find that amazing to make that journey to swim. Another lady we spoke to the other day is 80 years old, a snowbird, waiting her 4th hip replacement surgery. So swimming for her is extremely important. She's now training her husband to hover over the computer in case she's at the pool so she can get booked in for the next rehab time. People leave the pool early so that they can go to reception and try and book another swim in person. This process is frustrating and stressful. We have a pool sitting idle. Please, let's use it. Let's show that we actually care about our taxpayers' fitness and health. I have researched online through the CDC and the WHO and found no evidence of COVID transmission associated with swimming pools, as long as healthy environments are maintained. The staff at the Sports Center, with the cooperation of patrons, have been implementing required protocols successfully. The Commission should be gratified to be serving a community so keenly engaged in keeping fit. I urge you to open the Aquatic Center pool as soon as possible. Please don't abandon the seniors, snowbirds, and people with physical limitations in our community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And indeed, it was under 10 minutes, and I appreciate how well prepared you were and your plea. I'm sure this will generate questions and comments from directors of the commission. I see that Director Hillian already has his hand raised.
Thanks very much, Chair, and thank you very much for the presentation. You presented a very compelling case. However, we'll have to refer to our staff to find out exactly what the possibilities are. I wondered if you have any sense of whether the people who actually get the bookings are the same over and over again. Is this booking system resulting in an inequitable allocation to a smaller group of people, or does it seem to be fairly widespread based on just the luck of the draw with the mouse click?
I think it's fairly widespread. For instance, today we won't be going swimming till 7:20 at night. Now, we never go swimming at 7:20 at night. That was the luck of the draw. In fact, that was 10 days ago. There are some people who are the same, but I would say it's pretty mixed up. It really is how quick you are on the trigger and hope that the system will take you right through to the end.
Okay, so the real issue is then that you don't get the opportunity to go swimming as much as you want or at the times that you would prefer.
Correct. We would like to, I mean, I swum all my life, so I swum competitively as master swimming and so on. So for me to swim 4 or 5 times a week is what I like and what I need to do to maintain fitness. But I mean, the lady from Hornby Island who I chatted with is an example. Here's a lady who's so dedicated to coming twice a week that if she can't get the time during the day, when she can also get the ferry back to Hornby Island, then she has to stay in a hotel overnight. And I think that's a bit much to ask of anybody.
Yes, agreed. Thanks very much for the clarification. I will just ask one more thing. We've seen a lot of reports in the news lately about people swimming in the ocean. I take it that that's not a valid option for most folk.
Well, it's funny you say that because I was just checking into a reading in The Guardian about an hour ago. The swimming in the ocean has really taken off, or in cold lakes, about 2 ladies chipping in the ice to get in the water, and how you get in and you try and up it to 2 minutes and then for longer. It does a lot. There's a lot for benefit for your body. In fact, it's my birthday in 2 days, and I was thinking I might try it off where?
Oh, Point Holmes.
At Point Holmes, off the ramp.
One of us is more willing to go that route than the other.
Well, best wishes to you and a very happy birthday. Thanks for your presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you. I have a few more questions. I have one or two from Dr. McCollum.
Thank you. Thanks very much for the presentation. I think it's really helpful for us to have some insights into the impacts of limited facility access. I know there's a lengthy list of frustrated recreation participants in lots of different activities over the last 10 months. And I do think it's important for us to hear how these decisions are impacting user groups. So even if we're not able to accommodate your request, I think it is really important that we understand what the implications of our decisions are. One question I had for you was around the booking system itself. I mean, I can certainly understand how frustrating it is to not only not know if you're going to get access to your swim time, but also just the amount of time that you're putting in to try and to book these times. And I'm wondering if we're unable to comply with your request of getting our other facility up and going, if it would be considered a better option to be able to book, say, a series of 4 times at the same time. Like if you could get in on one of these times and then have access to book, say, the next 4 weeks as opposed to that one day, if that is something that you think would be an improvement, or if that's really not.
I think personally, I think it's it's difficult to say what you're going to be doing not that we've got such busy lives right now, but sometimes it is difficult to say what you're doing even 10 days in advance. To ask me 4 weeks in advance, I think would be even more difficult. And I'm not sure. I mean, I think the issue, as bad as the system is not that the system isn't good, but the lanes aren't there. So if I still want to try and get 4 times a week, and usually I'm unsuccessful, then I'm going to have difficulty doing that. And the lanes are still not going to be there 4 weeks from now. I think that's the main issue.
But if I could say, Melanie, I think if you were able to book more than one swim at a time, I mean, that at least would eliminate some of the daily stress of trying to,
Yeah.
so it would take some of that away. So at least you'd have some of these swims booked, and for a couple of days you could just relax. And
it is stressful. We were booking last night at 5:20, and we've had a bit of work done in the house, and we were having the lady who was in charge of it come through and see everything. And so we were telling her, and so she stayed. She's in the front hallway, and we have the iPad right in the front hallway because 5:20 is coming and we've got to book. And she couldn't believe it. And she was like all in a tizwaz. I mean, and that's just somebody who's not even going swimming. That's somebody who's just watching us. She said, my heart was beating so quickly. And I mean, it is frustrating. And if you're trying to cook dinner, you've got to stop everything, and that's your focus. So.
if it turns out that your oven clock is 2 minutes slower than your computer clock, and that causes you to miss something, that causes a lot of aggro in the household.
Thank you. A couple more questions. Director Cole Hamilton.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chair, and thank you so much for sharing your concerns. And I kind of see, I think Director Hilliam is alluding to this, there are really two categories. One is the difficulty of booking, and then is the actual capacity of like what's available to book when you get there. And just dealing with the first problem, I was wondering, you're saying that you obviously have a number of sort of high quality technological devices and you're quite agile on them. For people who either don't have those devices, or is there a means of booking by phone for people who simply don't have that?
They can book by phone, or they could book in person. But again, the ladies at that front desk have the same access to the computer as we do. Okay. So you can try by phone and not get in. Mm-hmm. Seamus's dad, who's 90, and his wife, who's 97, 98 in a couple of months, used to go swimming every morning at the Aquatic Center at 6 or 7 in the morning. This was before COVID. And I think they still would go swimming. But it's not at the Aquatic Center. And I mean, they're a 90-year-old and 97. He uses the computer and has actually written books, but I can't see him there ready to. I mean, it's a test of your skills, all different kinds of skills. Can you hit that thing fast enough? And it's very stressful.
Yeah, I can see the online would be a bit demanding for some people. And then their only option is to phone. And as Eleanor just said, then that just means you're 2 steps removed from it, or to show up in person. And that's adding another level of difficulty.
I feel sorry for the front office staff, really. I think they're under probably a lot more pressure than they normally would be, just because of this process.
And I imagine occasionally they are the receivers of the frustration people feel about the process, and that's really unfair. Yeah. That's 100% not if they're making. I mean, certainly we'll be working with our staff to increase capacity as soon as we can. And I was just wondering, one more option in terms of booking, would something of like, if there were a ranked preference, this sort of form that opened, say, at noon on Sunday and was open for 2 hours, and people could submit their preferences in order for the coming week, would something like that at least relieve you of the real inconvenience and stress of having to be there like you're trying to buy Rolling Stones tickets or something? Would that be a better way of doing things?
I don't think that it's going to work, because sometimes you can ask your staff. I think one time, and I had spoken to your staff, one time it filled up in 23 seconds. Yeah. So as you say, like the Rolling Stones tickets, it's going to be, maybe that's what we should do. We should start trying to sell our times for more.
Well, I was going to ask you if you'd heard of any scalping going on where people live, like someone's outside the sports center, they got some with possibly counterfeit lanes available. Yeah. But anyway, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to say that the freedom of information request we put in was aimed at that, just trying to get a sense of, well, is it just that we're not very good at booking, or are there really like hundreds of people trying to book? And so we're hoping that that information will give us a kind of a clearer picture of what the demand is and who's getting in and who's not, whether being on a wait list is helpful or not. So
Perhaps.
I look forward to sharing that with you.
Yeah, I say when that does come in, if you could share that with us, it would certainly be useful to get a sense of the demand problem. Anyway, I'm gonna cede the floor, but it's been nice talking to you, and hopefully we can get the capacity up as soon as we can. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll allow 2 more speakers. We're starting to run a little bit short on time, but Trustee Howe.
Hi there, happy birthday.
Thank you.
I'm also quite an avid swimmer, but I've been going out to Comox Lake with my sister every first of the month to jump in, which is exciting in itself. I didn't hear, and maybe I just missed it, and pardon me if that's the case. You had mentioned that you would like in an ideal world to be swimming 4 or 5 times a week. So I'm assuming that that's what you're trying to book. Out of those days and times, like out of a number, if you were going to say maybe 4 times a week, how out of 4, how successful are you each time?
Well, I'm fairly diligent at it, so it depends on which day. Some days there are more times, but then we don't know. There might just be a lane or 2 lanes available. I would say maybe I'm successful 1 out of 3 times. So, I mean, I have to keep at it. If 12 o'clock doesn't work on a day, then maybe they're swimming at 2:15 and I'll try that, or I'll try it at 5:20, and I just keep at it.
So you folks are swimming about 2 to 3 times a week right now
About
with this
3 times
system? Is
right
that
now.
okay? Thank you. I just wanted to get sort of an idea of how successful a person might be, you know, after trying as many times. And you seem quite like you know the system, and so you're quite good at trying. And I just wanted to get an idea of what that might have been looking like.
Thanks, Trustee Howe. And lastly, we have Director Hamir, who's in the room here.
Thanks, Chair, and thank you very much.
I missed
Oh,
you.
sorry.
No, go
There's already, there's someone else too. I'll try and make it quick. And thank you to Seamus and Eleanor for your presentation. My question is actually to staff. You know, we're hearing about the constraints in the system right now. Can you see any kind of extra capacity we could give in the current sports center, be it times or increasing the number of lanes? Do we have any kind of buffer in our current facility?
Through the chair, we had recently added in lanes 9 p.m. and later, and those were not attended at all. So we did scale back on those. We've added in extra times on Saturdays and Sundays as well. Now, in respect to the way the programming is now set up with the additional, you know, we can certainly look to putting in those late evening lanes again, and maybe people will shift. In respects to adjusting the programming that's in there, we want to make sure that we can provide a little bit of everything, from rehab to seniors, to youth, to lane swimming. So trying to provide a healthy balance as best as we can within that pool space is what we're trying to earmark. But we can certainly look at adding in later evenings again during the weekend, as well into the weekends, maybe till 8 or 9 at night.
Thank you.
My turn. I want to make sure Jennifer doesn't get off the hot seat here this quickly, but I wanted to know your thoughts on the booking system. I know we run into issues at our rec center with the booking system. I also know that when you go to that, being able to book more than one at a time, that comes with its own set of problems, because people tend to book and then not show up. So, you know, I've heard lots of frustrations over how the booking works, but it seems to be more of a programming issue than anything that we could possibly solve. But I just like your thoughts on if there's anything we could do there.
Through the chair, the booking system certainly is different than last one that we used to have, the old system, which became outdated. What we wish we could do, and we're working with the provider of the registration program, is to eliminate the amount of steps that you have to take from the moment you click your registration to filling in all of the information, because that's what throws you behind the 8 ball on getting your swim booked, is the amount of steps. Outside of that, that's about the only thing that we can see that could potentially help in that scenario, and it's a matter of what that provider can do to help us. Is it the smoothest system?
No.
No, but is there a way to improve it? We're hopeful that they can work with us.
Thank you. I really want to thank Eleanor and Seamus for coming to talk to us. And I agree with directors who said that it's important for us to hear individual perspectives and experiences. And it's been hard on the whole community. I haven't even bothered with my kids to try to come in swimming since a year ago. And I think we all feel the impacts of not having facilities that even before COVID were pretty much at capacity. So we know there's demand. The demand disappeared for a while, and trying to manage health and safety, employees, COVID risk, all these, trying to do all that has been a handful. So I appreciate the thought, just so we don't make decisions at the same time that we receive a delegation. But unless maybe staff can comment, I do expect that at our next meeting, we will come forward with the planning for the coming year, and we may get a little bit more information around some of the options for the commission to consider. Is that correct, to staff?
Through the chair, correct. We have a couple of pieces of information that we're waiting on, certainly. So the provincial health orders, as we head through the next phases of this pandemic, followed by or included with the financial planning process, to come up with what our moving forwards plans will be.
Thank you. So again, thank you to the delegation. I don't know if you have any final comments. I really appreciate hearing from you today, as I'm sure everybody did, even though it's not on the good news front. We know the pain it's inflicted on everyone. Do you have any final comments? Or?
No, I just like to thank you for listening to us today and your questions, and we'll keep our fingers crossed.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great day and a great birthday.
Bye.
We've moved receipt, so just on receipt, the vote. Anybody opposed to receipt? I don't see anyone, and so that's filed. Management report. Any questions on the management report? There's a few items on there, carryovers. I don't see anybody raising their hands in the room or online. I think we covered a few of those points at our last meeting for the updates. So with that, we'll just, anybody opposed to receipt? All good. And now we're looking for a mover for the staff report on the grant. Thank you, Dr. Grieve. Second, Dr. Grant. Thank you. Thank you. And over to staff for the report on the grant application proposal.
Thank you very much, Chair and Commissioners. And this grant proposal is due to be ratified today for a deadline tomorrow. Jennifer Zabidin will give you an update on the proposal, which includes the details as to what the grant application will be for, and may answer any of your questions.
Thank you. Through the chair, so staff are here today to seek that board approval to apply for the provincial government under the provincial government application under the COVID-19 resilience infrastructure stream. So just one more time, a quick review that the proposed work scope will focus on a teamwork approach of the REC Commission's strategic goals, and in particular, the asset management and the board strategic driver of fiscal responsibility and climate and environmental stewardship. The REC department have been focusing on enhancing our asset management practices in recent years as a strategic priority. And given the significant infrastructure assets invested by the Comox Valley Regional District to provide recreation services to the region, and the need to maximize available funding for maintaining and upgrading these key community facilities, which include under this function the Comox Valley Sports Center and the Aquatic Center, and on the exhibition grounds, the Curling Center. As presented at the January 12, 2021 Recreation Commission and Regional Board meetings, $3.65 million of asset management and service enhancement projects have been identified through the recent assessments of the Sports Center. However, upon further review, the proposed budget for this grant application, including a 20% contingency, is expected to be approximately 2.1, which includes projects most aligned with grant requirements, those that could be achieved within fiscal 2021, and those that benefit the facility overall with core asset management projects and improve the service levels from an accessibility and COVID-19 safety lens. The grant would fund 100% of the project costs and would significantly alleviate future funding pressures on the rec services for ongoing asset management upgrades for the rec services. And again, that includes the Sports Center, the Aquatic Center, and on the exhibition grounds, the curling building. These upgrades will provide better accessibility to our patrons, as well as decreasing operational costs with energy improvements. And the work would commence upon the announcement that the application was successful and completed by the grant requirement of December 31st, 2021. So in a nutshell, the areas that we'd be looking to focus on will be the family, men's and ladies change rooms. We have some floor slope issues and some cast piping issues underneath. And so we're looking to improve that and make that safe and accessible, all those areas safe and accessible. That same situation falls within the lifeguard staff room. We have emergency doors that we would like to replace, and those are for the obvious of in the event of an emergency. Under the mechanical, there's a lot of cast iron piping that is from 1973 and 1974. And as you can imagine what that condition will be like now, certainly needs to be replaced. We're looking for energy efficiencies. If you're working on the roof and you're replacing the roof, there's a possibility or an opportunity to keep that heat in a lot better. So that brings us to the roof replacement, as well as LED lighting replacements in Arena 1 and 2. COVID-19 upgrades, accessibility, trying to make things touchless, and public connectivity with fiber optics. And then on top of that would be the professional fees and then the contingency fees. So that will be the nutshell of what that work will entail. So this is for the Sports Center. And so while we're down here working on the Sports Center, and at this time we have the Aquatic Center closed, given the current state of the pandemic, we make this maybe the best time to start focusing on what work we can get done at the Aquatic Center in hopes that we don't have to have such long shutdowns in the future anymore. So in the finalization of the 2021 to 2025 financial plan, staff are currently reviewing the ability to utilize reserve funds to undertake improvements in asset management projects in the Aquatic Center, to utilize COVID-19 impacts as an opportunity to undertake these projects and minimize those future shutdowns. So generally we have one facility closed through summer and the other one runs through the summer. And sometimes we'll run it a 3-month shutdown, depending on the kind of maintenance that needs to be done. And sometimes it's just a 2-month shutdown. It's one pool, both pools, this pool, that pool. So we're looking for, maybe this is the time and the opportunity to get as much of those things completed and fixed and updated between these two facilities, so that when we're ready to reopen, we're opening sort of in that shiny new phase and do not have to move forward with such lengthy shutdowns. If the grant application was successful, there's a potential for some of these projects, such as LED lighting and perhaps the upgrades of the roof replacements, to be similar between the facilities and could benefit from synergies in procurement and in project management. So trying to turn a tough time into a bit of a positive time if we can. And so lastly, if the commission were to support the Sports Center grant application, staff would submit the finalized project list identified as the highest needs for the facility with shovel-ready projects, and that would have the greatest overall impact to the serviceable life of the Sports Center. The scope of work compiled most aligns with the grant requirements and will be reasonable to achieve given the required project completion date by the end of 2021. So in part, the scaling down was so that we could ensure we could achieve and get that work completed. So on that note, I am happy to take questions, comments.
Thank you to staff for this presentation. We saw a bit of a sketch the last meeting, I believe, and a heads up. So it's nice to see the specifics come forward. Any questions, Dr. Hamir?
Thanks, Chair, and thanks, Jennifer. Fully in support of us moving forward on the grant application. I believe I read somewhere that the entire fund has about 80 million. Is that right for the province? And if so, I'm just wondering if putting in a $2 million ask might seem a little bit over what the funders are expecting. And is there a possibility that they could fund portions of our grant? So maybe just putting that forward.
I'll just ask our CFO, Mariah Fort, to respond to that one. Thank you.
To the chair, to Director Khmer, through the grant requirements, they've asked us not to put phase projects in, but we have detailed the project list in sort of defined components. So they have identified that they could reduce the scope themselves. So we felt like we've put sort of a complete project in there overall, but if they were to decide to cut some items, it wouldn't sort of make the whole project fall apart. So there's some flexibility in there, but not having any kind of making them make that decision, but having flexibility for them.
Great. And thanks for the question. Any further questions on this grant proposal? And I think it would go in pretty soon, in the next couple of weeks or something like that.
Through the chair, tomorrow.
Tomorrow. It would go tomorrow. So raise your question now or never. And anybody else? I think we already received the overview last time, and the big difference, I guess, this time is to see that the Aquatic Center would also benefit from upgrades. So there being no further question, I guess, will anybody opposed to receipt? No?
Move the recommendation.
Think we're still finishing receipt. Anybody opposed to receipt of the presentation? There being none, Director Hillian, you can make your motion.
Yes, so move the recommendation.
Second.
Yes, which is for us to apply to the COVID-19 Residence Infrastructure Stream Grant Program for building retrofits at the Sports Center and Aquatic Center for the sum of just a little north of $2 million. Anybody opposed? Thank you. I guess staff can go back to their desk and finalize the application in time for tomorrow's deadline. Thank you. That was it. Anybody wanted to add any new business or anything like that? Doesn't seem like it. Thank you. Second on termination, Dr. Hamir, thank you. Anybody opposed? And that's it. Thanks everybody for being here today.
Thank you, Chair.
Right.